Jeff found himself at a beach in his newly built all-terrain bathtub. Today, his journey was beginning, and he knew it would be very hard.
For full disclosure, this game was provided to us for free as a review copy from Game.Press. Hello, this is Tim from the Game Club Pod. I'm doing another episode of DLC. We are looking at the game Driving is Hard, published and developed by Elegant Horse Studios, a 3D action platformer similar to Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, but with a car. Game comes out on January 31st, that is today. In Driving is Hard, you play as a character called Jeff in a all-new, all-terrain bathtub, and you're dealing with this battle of self-doubt, his father's expectations, and you're being guided along by memories of your supportive grandfather. And he finds strength and self-acceptance and freedom from the past, stepping into a brighter and more hopeful future. That's the synopsis that the game has given us. It tells us everything that we need to know about the story. To me, the sign of a good platforming game is one where it feels just fun to move. I think it's really important to keep that in mind with this game. It's undeniable that this game draws a lot of inspiration from Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, and it actually wears this inspiration pretty hardly on its sleeve in referencing Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy in the first, I would say, 5-10 minutes of the game. But this game has one major difference to me that really separates it from its inspiration. It's actually pretty fun. So, for those who don't know, Bennett Foddy is a action platforming game where you are stuck in a cauldron or a pot of some sort, and you get around by swinging a sledgehammer. The puzzle and interactions with the player that this game has is getting creative with a sledgehammer and your movement options and how you hang off of things, etc. Obviously, where you have a sledgehammer instead of just your regular arms and legs, movement's going to be a lot clunkier and heavier, and that's part of the very intentional design of the game. This doesn't have that. This has a half-naked man sat in a bathtub driving it around like a car. Now, while there is some I'm not going to say awkward movement, but unconventional movement with the bathtub in terms of its light steering, and it's sometimes feeling a little disconnected from the ground, particularly in the very first chapter of the game. You very quickly get used to how this bath car handles its speed, its grip, its turning circles, its movement in the air. It's very, very quick to adapt to. What's really nice about this, in terms of the air movement in particular, Elegant Horse Studios have done something very, very clever with your air mobility. You rise in the air as you would naturally expect from a jump or a fall or something to that effect. But you have a parachute that automatically deploys after a certain time of falling to make sure you land all four wheels on the ground. And on top of that, you can also spin and rotate your car to influence how many tires are going to be on the surface that you're aiming for, or even just the surface that you're hitting. It makes a massive, massive, massive difference to how this game's puzzle platformer aspect feels as a player. Driving is Hard sees Jeff in a bathtub climbing a tree, a tree house, a mountain, a desert mountain, all in the first hour. And to be honest, I only put about an hour and a half into this title for this review. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One, I wanted to get this review out on time for the game's release. And number two, the game immediately puts the cards on the table in terms of what it has to offer. It's a really simple control scheme with forwards, backwards, left, right, jump, and headlights, which the game goes out of its way to describe as a definitely important control. The game knows that the controls are simple, and it knows how to really play into those strengths. I went into this game really, really, really ready to hate this. And generally speaking, I don't enjoy platformers that are designed to be frustrating. And while this game does have punishments for falling off of your path or failing a puzzle, as any game in this platforming subgenre would, the punishments feel fair, and yes, you can fall a decent way and lose a good amount of progress, but thanks to this game's very, very, very well thought out design, and in terms of level design and the geometry, you don't ever feel like you're falling too far. Progress is very, very quickly gained back, and you only end up improving the puzzles and the platforming challenges that you've already overcome. It actually feels like a natural checkpoint, unlike Bennett Foddy, which is going to have undeniable comparisons to this game. Where Bennett Foddy, if you fall, can result in you falling all the way back to the beginning of the game. And again, that's an intentional decision on their part. I completely respect that. As little as I enjoy it, I do respect it. This feels a lot more like it's encouraging the player to pick themselves back up and try the thing again, and again, and again, and again, until they overcome this puzzle or this challenge. It's nice to have. It's short, iterative cycles with movement options and general mobility that feels pretty good. This game's more than just about climbing up a big object, though. It's also a bit of a collectathon. There's hidden bars of soap, which is very apt given that you're driving in a bathtub. They're hidden throughout the game. I think there's 21 of them all in all. And I'm not entirely sure if they do anything in-game for you, but what they do for the player is reward them in a small way for exploring or completing a small challenge or working out a puzzle or just testing the player's skill, because these things are always hidden behind some sort of little challenge that the player will need to go out of their way to find. It's rewarding them for exploring this well thought out game and mastering the mobility and understanding how the core mechanics of the game work and combining all three of these things together to make something really coherent and something actually fun to play. It's really nice to see them encouraging players to think outside the box and really adapt to the puzzle and the environments that they're in. It's not going to be all sunshine here, though. I did have a couple of nitpicks, and I really do mean nitpicks. While I personally didn't engage with the supportive grandpa story, the voice acting in this game isn't all too great, with the exception of the narrator. The narrator sounds like they got someone on par with the narrator from the Stanley Parable, but everyone else felt a bit like a placeholder, complete with wildly varying microphone quality. And thankfully the mixing is done pretty well, so it's not too loud or too quiet, but even if you kept the same voice actors, it'd be nice to see more consistency in the production quality of the audio. The other nitpick I had was some of the collision detection, but I feel like this is something that could be really easily addressed in patches moving forward, and it was few and far between that it became an issue. As I said, I was ready to come into this, ready to not enjoy it, but Driving is Hard left me really pleasantly surprised. Its well thought out levels, simple but graspable controls, and neat puzzle design actually has me wanting to come back to this. It feels like Bennett Foddy but enjoyable. Keep an eye on Elegant Horse Studios. If their next project comes out with the same quality as this, we're probably going to start to see the emergence of a real indie dev heavy hitter.